With your significant achievement, including the 2020 G2 Exchange Women in Leadership Award, what strategies do you believe are the most effective for empowering women in tech industries?
I can't wait for someone to give me a seat at the table. I have to demand my seat. And the way I did that was becoming an overachiever, making sure I was at the tip of the spear in my craft, and being overzealous with regards to fighting for what's right. One of the core things that I always say is believe in yourself. One thing that I do as a CEO is I've learned that dreaming is about me. Being an entrepreneur is about me. It's not your dream for me, it's my dream for myself. So when you're a leader, you have to understand if you're gonna lead. If you're gonna do the job, do it. But don't expect someone to come beside you and push you. You have to push yourself. When you embark on this journey of entrepreneurship, you have to remember that this is your dream and not someone else's dream.
Hello, Money Movers. Welcome to another episode of Her Money Moves. Today, we are recording live from the WPO Entrepreneurial Excellence Forum in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I'm so excited because today we're going to have such an intriguing conversation with the CEO of Dobbs Defense Solutions, Erica Dobbs. Thank you so much for being here today. Erica has seamlessly transitioned her wealth of experience into the corporate realm, establishing Dobbs Defense Solutions as a cybersecurity powerhouse at the forefront of this industry, serving a broad spectrum of government and commercial clients with unparalleled dedication. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you for having me today. I'm happy to be here.
Same here. And wow, look at you. Have this beautiful pin that you're proudly wearing.
Absolutely.
I know that you did, I can't believe, 35 years that you served in the Navy.
36 and a half.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
Yes.
And that's a long way to go before changing gears. Tell us about your journey and how you ended up in cybersecurity.
So my journey in the Navy started out in the traditional term of telecommunications. And so as the field evolved from telecommunications, information assurance, network operations, and then it landed on the term of cybersecurity. And so basically my time in the military, I was in that field. And so we evolved with the changes of today. And so that's how I actually ended up in cybersecurity, is that I served in uniform, providing a service in cybersecurity.
Well, it's no secret that, the military is male-dominated. Did you ever experience challenges that made you grow into this trailblazing woman CEO that you are today?
100%. So in my field in the military, it's not that many women. And so we had to become overachievers primarily because of our male counterparts. And so with that being said, if you were in the room and you're a female, everybody knew you were smart, because it's not every day that they allow women in the room. But the most important part is that if you were a minority female, they knew you were even smarter, because minority women were not primarily in our field. So the challenge is that you just have to hold your head down and encourage yourself, but more importantly, put in the work, make sure you educate yourself, and when you go to the table, that you bring it.
With your significant achievements, including the 2020 G2 Exchange Women in Leadership Award, what strategies do you believe are the most effective for empowering women in tech industries and particularly in leadership roles?
So I think that when you're looking to empower women, you have to really look at how to build up their self-esteem first. One of the things I learned when I was in uniform is that I can't wait for someone to give me a seat at the table. I have to demand my seat. And the way I did that was becoming an overachiever, making sure I was at the top of the, tip of the spear in my craft, and being overzealous with regards to fighting for what's right. So the reason why I say that is when I was in the military, most people are not aware of this, but I never went to formal training to be a cyber SME. I taught myself. So I'm a self-taught entrepreneur, but I'm a self-taught cyber IT individual. So traditionally, the military would send individuals into school. They would call it A school, C school, and those schools was actually to train you on how to actually do the work in the IT telecommunications field. Well, when I joined the Navy in the early 80s, they decided that although I was a college student, that I should just come in as an what the Navy call an undesignated seaman. So as an undesignated seaman, that meant that I was not afforded the opportunity to go to school. Well, statistics show that that was a tradition for minority kids that came into the military, that we weren't afforded the opportunity to go to a lot of schools. So I was already at a disadvantage when I started out in the Navy because all of my peers had the formal training and they had the skill set to do their job, but I didn't. And so for me, I actually took the rate manuals that they had for that field and I read them and I taught myself how to be proficient. And with doing that, I will tell you that when you're doing advancement exams, some people, when they take the exam, there's a term called pass but not advance, or you get advanced. Well, as a striker, a person who didn't go to school, when I took my exam, I aced it. And I made it at the head of the group that actually went to school. I made it on to the next pay grade when my peers who went to school didn't make it. So that was the genesis of my start on my journey to compete with Erica and not with anybody else. So I didn't look at my peers on the left and right and say, oh, so-and-so is doing better than me, I need to do this. I was always in competition with myself. I would set my goal and I would achieve it. And then I would reset and I would set my goal for the next phase in my military career.
So tell me about Dobbs Defense Solutions. What led you to entrepreneurship?
What led me to entrepreneurship is that I was actually in a C-suite position when I was in uniform. And in that position, I was afforded the opportunity to hire and fire employees. So I worked in an environment where I was able to hire civilians, but I was in still active duty military. And so I would sit on hiring panels. And one day I was on a panel and the person actually it was a lady on the panel with me. She had actually figured out the age of the individuals that were women. And I'm thinking, well, that's me. You know, I'm a seasoned lady, I would say seasoned, that she's actually discriminated against. And then she looked at the schooling that they went through. She looked at the time frame that they went to school. She looked at veterans and she discriminated against. She said negative things about veterans. And I'm on the call and we're supposed to have bias interviews for potential employees. But this individual was being very discriminatory. And I was like, wow, in a couple of months, I'm going to be on the other side of this. And this is what I'm going to encounter. And so after thinking about it, I decided I would take the plunge into entrepreneurship. I had applied for other jobs and I had been accepted by some large entities to go work for them. But when I looked at the discrimination and how people were being isolated, especially women, I decided to start Dobbs Defense Solutions as a safe place for women and veterans. And I will tell you that my company is 90% of both. And I hire individuals from any ethnicity. All I want you to do is do your job, right? And the oldest person I have on my team is 72 years old. Because I don't care how old you are. I don't care what you look like. If you can do your part and add value to our team, then we want you on our team.
Wow. So you've been able to build, sounds like a really incredible culture at your company.
Yes.
So you've been in business 5 years now.
5 years.
What were some of the challenges in those early days when you were
Sure.
establishing the company?
So I started the company in 2019 when I retired from the Navy. Interesting, COVID hit when I started my business, right? And so what happened is that, of course, the challenges of, like in the DoD sector, what are you going to do with this new landscape, right? Of trying to grow a business and you don't really have the expertise in government contracting. So for me, I understood government contracting from the government side, but I didn't understand it from the contractor side. My friends and colleagues, I would ask questions and they would parrot the answer to me and I would still be like a deer with the headlights on, like, I don't understand it, I don't get it. And so one day I was asking someone about the federal acquisition regulations called the FAR. And so I was asking about that guidelines and directives that, when you're in government contract that you have to follow. And the person explained it to me and I was still confused. And I said, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to do what I always do. What do I always do? I read, I get the training, and I learn it, right? So as an avid learner, I decided to go back to school. So I went back to school, obtained my master's degree in procurement and acquisition with the emphasis in government contracting so that I could understand what they were trying to tell me and be able to be more proficient as a CEO. And so with that being said, by me actually going to school, learning the nuances of what it means to be in government contracting, having great mentors and advisors on my side, because I tell them all the time, I'm trainable, right? And so I didn't enter into this field thinking that I knew it all. So I'm trainable. And so with that being said, I took that, my education, and I decided to embark on this journey called entrepreneurship of of a cyber company. Most people think I'm, a little odd to want to stay in cybersecurity, but I've been in the field for 41 years and I know I can hone my own.
That's your expertise.
Because that's my expertise. And, most people only think that I'm a cyber girl, but I also understand satellite communications as well. So any gamut of the IT spectrum I can talk to. And when people ask me questions, they look at me and go, well, I didn't know you knew all of that. It's because when you are in an environment where I was in, it was based upon cyber and IT, but not the satellite side of it. So we didn't talk about that. And so with that being said, I wanted to win more contracts and take the company to the next level. So I stayed into that one silo that I was in when I retired.
And so what do you believe has contributed significantly to the growth of your company?
Sure. So what has contributed to the growth of the company is being me, of course. But more
that's your secret sauce.
I'm the secret sauce. But I would tell you that what contributed to the growth of the company on a serious note is that my time in the military. So, growing up in the Navy, you're taught to be a leader out of the gate. You're taught to lead people from the actual beginning of your journey. So when I joined, being a section leader in the Navy at the beginning of my career, and then as I continued to grow throughout my career, I was always placed in leadership roles. People would just make me the leader when they thought that I could lead. And a lot of times I didn't feel like I could be a good leader, but someone else saw inside of me that I could be that leader, right? And so with that being said, I became the leader. I remember trying to retire from the Navy, and one of my, they call them classifiers or detailers, he said, oh no, we're going to send you to command. I'm like, command of what? I want to go home. So those skills that I learned as an executive officer also rolled into my journey as an entrepreneur. And so here I am today.
Wow. So you mentioned earlier that you're a self-funded entrepreneur. Tell us about your experience in funding your business.
Sure. So when I started out with my company, we were trying to do all the right things, get the working capital in place or a line of credit. And, sadly, when you're a new business, no one believes in you. And some people receive funding and others do not.
Yes.
And there's a tendency.
And we get so many no's and it's so frustrating. And how do you keep, how do you keep going?
And so, I received a lot of no's. I will share with you a story where one of my mentors actually, and I won't mention the name of the bank, went to his friend at one of the banks and said, hey, will you take care of my mentee? She's starting her company. We want to get her set up to get a line of credit, to get established in this organization.
She has served 37 years.
As a veteran.
And
then the bank that
led groups of over 200 people and led our country. Yes.
Yeah. And so this group would say that they were going to help veteran entrepreneurs and that they wanted to help minority entrepreneurs and they wanted to help companies in the DoD space. So they had all of the buzzwords in play. And so every introduction I had with them was virtually, and no one knew what I looked like. And so my name, Erica Dobbs, translates into any ethnicity. And so as I'm on the journey with them and we're on the emails and my company is moving forward, I'm getting approved. I was approved for a line of credit. The line of credit that I was approved for was $200,000 out of the gate from this particular organization. But as they decided they wanted to meet with me in person, when they decided to meet with me in person, and they saw that I was a minority female, my approved line of credit was declined. And I went from talking to the VPs and all of the decision makers to talking to an analyst. they assigned a Black analyst to me because I was a Black female. And then the analyst said to me, she said, Miss Dobbs, I'm here to help you. And I said, well, I just want to ask one question. Will I receive this loan now or will I not? She said, you're not going to get the money. They just assigned me to you to make you feel good, but they're not going to give you the money. And I said, okay, fair enough. So at that time, I realized that, okay, this is going to be a challenge, right? This is going to be a journey. And so my husband and we talked about it and he said, you know what? You're gonna be okay. Let's just stay focused. And he said, what we're gonna do, he said, I've been gathering all this money together in this, and it had this big jar, remember the water jars that you can get with a gallon, the 5-gallon water jars. So my husband had captured all this spare change in the house. So we took that jar of spare change and we took it to the bank and we started Dobbs with a jar of spare change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I look at the beginning of Dobbs with a jar of spare change. We started out with $100 that we put in the bank to get the company, hey, we're now a company. We now have money in the bank. As I grew on, my contract started to grow. My husband's like, we're going to use our credit cards. So, when you're bootstrapping, you use everything that you have at your disposal. You use credit cards, your resources, your IRAs, whatever funding is available to you, you use it. Mm-hmm. But one thing I didn't do was I never used my home. I never use my mortgage or anything like that because I didn't want my dream to put us in the streets, right?
Yeah.
So I told my husband's like, do you want to use it? I'm like, no, we need to make sure we have a place to live if this doesn't go well. But I used everything that I had at my disposal, including my retirement and my disability as well. And so my funding from that. But, I made it through it. And I had a lot of no's. I had a lot of people say, oh, we're going to help you. We're going to help you get to the next level. And they were just blowing smoke, really. They were just lying because they actually...
wasting your time.
100% wasting my time.
Can you just tell me, just
tell the truth.
Yeah.
And then I learned through all of those different interviews with all the various banks is that banks do not help you when you need money. You're not going to get...
not until you're already established.
Yes.
When you don't need them.
When you don't need
Then they want to come and they want you to be their client and they want to invite you to everything. But it's like when you're in the trenches and you really need it, they're all telling you no and rejecting you.
And I had a situation where I was in need of about... the first one, I needed $80,000. You're starting, that's a lot of money to make payroll. And so what I learned was the power of connection, the power of sisterhood, because what happened is I was afforded the opportunity to connect with a sisterhood group of veteran female CEOs. And one thing that happened was one day, I was in need of some funding. And one of my fellow colleagues, she said, Erica, if I have to max out every credit card that I have, you're going to make payroll. And so one of my colleagues, she said, but right now today, I'm going to run downstairs and I'm going to make this wire and I'm going to give you what you need. And so one of my veteran colleagues sent me $25,000. And then some other colleagues called me and said, hey, what can I do to help you? And so eventually I made the $80,000 that I needed by noon. And the reason why I was in that crunch is because I was using a factoring company who was holding on to my money and wouldn't release it. And so, and then the government wasn't paying on time. So I had all these delays. Well, when you're a company that's bootstrapping, you don't have access capital all the time at your disposal to be able to use. So you're living from payday to payday. Mm-hmm. And so that was a change for me because in uniform, I didn't live payday to payday. I had access money.
Yes.
And so doing that as a business owner, it was an interesting journey.
Wow.
But I survived,
So are there any key learnings that you can share from your experience securing government contracts successfully?
Sure. So one thing I would say that as a new company starting out trying to secure government contracts, you really want to try to subcontract as much as you can so that you can learn from how the business is done. A lot of times companies want to start out as primes, and I would say that's the worst thing you can do because there's so many unknowns in the government contracting arena that you really want to just be a sub, learn the process, understand how it works, and then take notes and then go after the prime work. But I would say in the very beginning, you really just want to start out. Like a lot of companies will say, well, I'm 100% primes, doing prime work. Well, they started out as a subcontractor at some point.
Oh, yes.
And then they
it
shifted
takes
over
time to get to
Yes.
that level.
Yes, but it takes time to get there. But the one note I will make is that when you're in the field like technology and cybersecurity, it's very difficult to be a prime contractor, even after you've been in business for a long time, because the way that the government is designed, they are more amped to give the large contracts for cybersecurity to the big boys, like the big seven, like companies that they use, as opposed to small businesses, which to me is a travesty because they don't understand that underneath the hood of those big companies is small businesses like myself who would actually give them a better deal because I'm less expensive, I have less overhead, and I'm bringing the actual talent that the big companies are bringing by adding me to their team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a really great point. So what are some of the core philosophies that you embody to be an effective leader despite the challenges of entrepreneurship?
Sure. So one of the core things that I always say is believe in yourself. You know, one thing that I do as a CEO is I've learned that dreaming is about me. Being an entrepreneur is about me. It's not your dream for me, it's my dream for myself. So when you're a leader, you have to understand if you're going to lead, lead. If you're going to do the job, do it. But don't expect someone to come beside you and push you. You have to push yourself. So for me as an entrepreneur, I was sharing with one of my colleagues the other day is that when you embark on this journey of entrepreneurship, you have to remember that this is your dream and not someone else's dream. You can't be angry with the bankers because they don't want to fund you because it's not their dream. This is your dream.
Mhm.
You can't be angry with the person that don't want to give you the contract because it's not their dream. It's your dream. So what I shared is that I fight for my dream just like I fought for everybody that I had to support when I was in uniform. Like I fought for my country. I provided stellar support in the cybersecurity field. And I fought for that because that was my job. So as an entrepreneur, I fight the same way for me. Like why would I do anything less? Right. And that's the nugget I would
Love
give
that,
you
that fighting mentality.
is you got to fight for what you want to be.
Mhm.
You got to fight for your dream because no one else will. And and today, as a result of that, I will tell you that it's a wonderful feeling to be able to have my naysayers, people who didn't even think we would make it to this point, people who said no to me, and just outright denied us of being able to move forward faster. But now you're looking at me and calling me saying, "Oh, how can I help you now?" I don't want your help now because when I needed your help then, you didn't have, you didn't want to help me. So don't come when I'm doing well.
Yes.
That's my philosophy is don't come to me when I'm doing well. Help me when I need you, but don't come if I don't need you now. Right?
Yes.
So
And I mean, and look at you now. You're multiple awards, and you
Yes.
were share some of these awards that you've been
Sure.
recognized for.
So we were number 8 on the Inc. regional list out of 135 in the Mid-Atlantic region. We're the number 1 company off the Inc. regional list for the state of Maryland, and we are now the SBA Maryland Veteran Company of the Year for the whole state. And then also, I was just inducted into the Maryland 100 top women. So that's a big deal.
Congratulations. Yes, it is a big deal.
I didn't know what it was myself, but it's a big deal. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what it was. But it's refreshing. I don't like to toot my horn, but it's refreshing that people believe in you, and it's refreshing to know that all of the awards I just told you about, I didn't nominate myself for those awards. Someone else did. Someone else saw the value in the work that I put in, and so they felt that I should be a part of this group of prestigious women, and so that's why I ended up with that group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about your company's growth? I know at WPO
Sure.
you're a platinum member.
Sure. So the company, we started out in 2019, right? So we've had a tremendous amount of growth. So in just 5 years, we have 72% of growth from a financial standpoint as well as contracts. So that's a big jump, right?
Yes.
And so WPO has been amazing. I will tell you that the women in this group, they want to see you succeed. They're great champions for you. I will tell you that if you're a female and you need a tribe to be a part of, join WPO.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. You've been phenomenal.
Yeah. It's a great group. and they help with, and then connections as well. The connections with other women in the group to help expand your growth of the business is tremendous as well. Okay.
So what drives you today? Not only in your role as a CEO, but as a woman
Oh, that's a good question.
and a mom and a grandmother.
Yes. So, when I was in uniform, what drove me was the mission, right? Making sure that I was doing my job to keep people safe because, I was afforded the opportunity to manage aircraft carriers, which are like metropolitan cities. So I managed all the communications on board those carriers, right? And so as a CEO today, I'll be honest with you, being a mom is wonderful. Being a grandmom is even more exciting. But being the CEO of a company with 80 people who have put their lives in my hand is even more remarkable. And so when you ask me what gets me up at night, what makes me stay awake at night, what gets me up in the morning, it's my employees. Like those people that work for me, they're my life now because they trust me. They believe in my vision. They bought into the mission of Dobbs. So why wouldn't I give them my all? Right?
Love that. What a true leader. So I always love to ask all the guests, what are you dreaming bigger about next?
So what I'm dreaming about next is I'm trying to take Dobbs to the next level this year. My goal is to be at a place next year where we can actually do an acquisition. The reason why I want to do an acquisition is to bring in additional contracts, but specifically in areas where I can actually use those contracts to advance other women in business. So my goal is to be a mentor of other companies. I look at a lot of the landscape where some people will say, "Oh, I want to help you," but they'll tell you, "Oh, you need to bring a contract to me before I can help you." That's the way people actually try to help you. And
Yes.
I've been burnt on that many times. And so for me as a CEO of Dobbs, I want to create a safe place for women entrepreneurs, especially in STEM. I want to be able to give them the facility clearances that they desire. I want to be able to give them their first opportunity as a small business. I want to be able to show them how to do government contracting. I want them to actually avoid all of the landmines that they will have to endure if they didn't have someone in their lives to mentor them. And then I just want to bring them underneath the umbrella of Dobbs and empower them to go out and be multimillionaires just like we are today.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey. I mean, what a amazing, intriguing path. And I know you're going to be doing so much more, so many more incredible things in the world and in our community to help women and veterans and diverse-led entrepreneurs.
Sure.
You're amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
You.
You're welcome.